Hello everyone, Nev here, and today we are doing the Libra study. Yay! And I'm excited about this one because I'm a Libra. So, yeah, my birthday is coming up. I'm filming this before my birthday, I think. Yeah, it'll go out before my birthday. So, that's cool. So my birthday is actually October 1st, and I love my birthday. So I'm one of those annoying people that like, this is my birthday month, October, that's my birthday month. So yeah, so anyway, so we're doing Libra. Okay, so I am going to overlay a video of me working on the decorations of Libra in my journal here. So I'm going to put that on the screen while I talk about Libra. Okay, so the primary keyword I think we overwhelmingly have associated with Libra is balance. And honestly, that keyword is like so annoying for me because it's just like I see the word balance like everywhere whenever whenever there's keywords for the different signs, Libra is always balance. And yeah, it's an appropriate word. It's an appropriate label for Libra. It's just, it gets kind of boring, So like I get kind of sick of the word balance in association with Libra. I do like harmony a little bit better. I think that makes sense for Libra. So yeah, Libra is like everything working together in harmony, and that does have a sense of balance to it. There's not too much extreme on either end. It's very balanced. So maintaining a sense of peace is paramount for Libra. Free from pressure and argument. They will even sacrifice for the sake of peace, and that is definitely true for me. I've done that a lot in my life. So this is possibly what leads to Libra's difficulties in decision making, which results in temporary disharmony. Because when you make a decision, something's gotta go by the wayside. Something's gotta be neglected or rejected. So, and that is something that I often find difficult when I'm making decisions, like, even as simple as trying to decide what to eat at a restaurant. And I tend to fall back on comfort things. Like once I know that I like this thing from this restaurant, I often order that a lot because I know that I like it, and I don't like to be disappointed with trying something new, even though I'm not afraid to try new things. But if I'm going out to a restaurant, like, when I want things to be peaceful and comforting and, and relaxing, I don't want to take risks. I don't want to try new things when I'm trying to be in that zone. I don't know if that makes sense. So because of that, at restaurants anyway, I tend to I tend to find something that I like and stick with it, and yeah. But like I do like to try new things. But yeah, anyway. So Libras are known for seeing both sides of every issue, leading to their greatest fault, which is indecision, as we just discussed. But it also leads to one of their greatest strengths, which is diplomacy. So Libras are a social sign, and whether the individual themselves is introverted or extroverted, they do remain social and suffer to cope with loneliness. And I personally I'm introverted, but I am social, and I do enjoy social interactions, and I often feel especially burdened by loneliness that can creep up on me, and that can definitely affect myself. So yeah, they love to share their lives with others, and maybe to a fault even. I have definitely been an oversharer for a lot of my life. I've overshared. I've only now in my 40s come to like take back a little bit, like, not share as much as I used to, but like I've always been a bit of an sharer. But they like to share everything, like not just their lives, but their interests. They like to share and connect through sharing in general, and that makes sense. I mean, I am posting on the internet. I share my life like that. I share my life on social media, and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. And, a lot of people do that. But I think for me, there is a sense of sharing that I like to do with that, and connecting, a social connection. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But, and, obviously a lot of other people do the same. But for me, like, it's less so about a financial gain, because I actually don't get any financial gain from anything that I do online here. It would be nice. This is my Capricorn moon coming through, but it would be nice to get, some sort of monetary gain from this. But like ultimately, I just like to share, So yeah, so Libra's greatest social connection is their romantic partner or a partner in life. Libra is kind of has the stereotype of being the marriage sign, whether they do get married or not. I mean, because obviously each individual is different, but Libra does have that stereotype as being probably the most likely of the signs to get married or to have a lifelong companion. And that is something with Libra. They like to have that yin to their yang, and I mean that there's that balance again coming in, and so partnership is something that's very important in general to Libra. And of course, all the things I'm saying here is very generalized, and each individual person is going to have their own connections with their sign that maybe don't fit into the stereotypes. And you also have to take in the whole chart into consideration when you're thinking about, when you're laying out someone's personality. So there's a lot that goes into it. And also, and not just astrology, but, the way you're raised, your environment, etc. So that lots of things affect who you are and how you express yourself. When I talk about these in depth about these characteristics of the signs, these are very generalized. So yeah, so justice is incredibly important to Libra, and and they tend to be very fair and diplomatic. And and I wanted to mention that we often think of Libra as being that very romantic sign, very very much looking for the approval of others, or at least that connection with others. We tend to view Libra as being I don't want to say feminine, because obviously that's not quite right. Libra just kind of has that, there's a social aspect to it that maybe can sometimes come off as maybe even vapid or something like that, or too into looks, or too into surface level vanity type things. Libra has that, Libra kind of has that stereotype, sure. Obviously, people are different. and there's a lot of that I really see myself in as well. Obviously I like to share myself online. So, and that includes things that are more surface level and vain, etc. So yeah, that's definitely part of it. But like, Libra's big associate, like they're, symbolized by the scales. So like the scales of justice, and, and we'll get to the tarot card later, but of course, justice is the card that's associated with Libra. And Libras do, in general, tend to make better lawyers, and tend to do fare well or fare better in legal situations or legal professions, etc. Something having to do with fairness and justice, social work even might be good for some Libras, etc. So the keywords associated with Libra are diplomatic, urbane, romantic, charming, easygoing, sociable, idealistic, and I would say that's true, yeah, peaceable, indecisive, changeable, gullible, yep, for sure, easily influenced, flirtatious, yes, self-indulgent, yep, that's, yep, there we go, harmonious, sympathetic, and also resentful. So, Yeah, and for me, I think the best keyword is harmonious or harmony when it comes to Libra. I like that a little bit better than balance, you know. And there is a sense of not really wanting to rock the boat. So saying things or doing things to just keep the peace on things, you know, that tends to be a lot of aspects to Libra. But yeah, all right. So where's Libra in my chart? Okay, so obviously my sun is in Libra, but my Mercury is also in Libra. And if we're using Placidus charts, both are in my both are in my third house. But if I'm using whole sign, then both are actually in my fourth house. So that's a difference between like the Placidus birth charts versus whole sign birth charts. And which version you use is a personal preference for the most part. You kind of just have to stick with it. And I prefer Placidus. I think both of those signs, Sun Libra and Mercury Libra in the third house, make more sense for me personally versus the fourth house. So that's part of the reason why I stick with Placidus. It just makes the most sense for me. Though it is nice and simple to have a whole house chart system and have each of the houses just perfectly lined up. Like, there is something satisfying about that, but I do prefer Placidus. So Sun Libra in the third house is a social butterfly, especially combined with the fact that the third house is all about communication, and it also holds Mercury for me, which Mercury is all about communication. So Mercury is at home in the third house, and you know, with Libra being such a social sign, and my sun is in Libra and my Mercury being in Libra, both in the third house of communication, yeah, that you know, social butterfly makes sense for that. And I would say that, yeah, I am a social butterfly, still pretty introverted, because you know, a lot of people don't understand what introverted and extroverted mean, but it's basically how you regain energy. And so, but I am largely an introvert. I don't actually go out a lot. I'm pretty hermited, but I'm very social online, though. That's where I have my outlet. All right, so with these positions, there is a large focus on the social. And Sun Libra in this house has a need to share, whether that's goods, ideas, feelings, or knowledge, as I mentioned before. Libra's sense of justice amplifies in this house, and they may have a skill in diplomacy, which is something I mentioned before. But the communication part of this is sort of geared a lot toward Libra. Libra Sun and Mercury being in that third house. All right, so and finally the main associations with Libra. The Libra is ruled by Venus, as is Taurus. So, and Venus is often associated with things like love, romance, and beauty, etc. It is a cardinal sign, and in fact, all three of my big three, my sun, moon, and rising signs, all three of them are cardinal signs. So that is the getting things started. That is the start of things signs. And so my sun is in Libra, so that's a cardinal sign. My moon is in Capricorn, also a cardinal sign. And my rising is Cancer, which is also a cardinal sign. So the only one missing there is Aries, and I actually don't have Aries at all in my chart. So there we go. All right, so Libra is also a yang sign and an air sign. All right, so I will discuss the tarot cards in a moment. All right, so we are back here, and let's check the decorations. Let me find it, the page that I finished. All right, Libra, here it is. Let me get the pencil board out of the way. So here is my finished page for Libra. Here we go. I really like that. Sorry about my nail here. I didn't touch up my nails before I started this. Sorry. I've had a busy day, so Yeah, it is what it is. All right. Yeah, so all the information is here, decorated. Here's the constellation, Libra, and their keywords here. Let me see what this is. It says balanced, sociable, and inquisitive. Interesting keywords for that. Balance and sociable makes sense. I do really like the keyword harmony for Libra. I think that one fits the best. So let's check out the Parker's Astrology here and find the page for Libra. I don't know if I have it bookmarked or not. Yes, I did. Okay, Libra, here we go. Here is the page for Libra. And so the scales, the symbol of the sign, have a deeply symbolic meaning for sun sign Librans because the need for balance and harmony in their lives is paramount. They need a harmonious background, free of undue pressure and argument, as I mentioned, in order for them to be happy. They will sometimes even make sacrifices for the sake of peace and quiet, which is something I said earlier. Giving in too easily to pressure from others, and when confronted with a problem, they are likely to sit on the fence until the problem goes away rather than commit themselves to one side or the other. And I mean, fair. I would say that for me, being older, I've definitely matured over time, and but making decisions is still something that's very difficult for me. So yeah, and here is a cool picture that we have here. All right, awesome. And I also have the information in here. Or is this Libra? And of course, balance. Again, balance. So Starcodes says Libra encourages you to see multiple sides of a situation, but that can leave you stuck in the center. Yeah. Now that being said, I do definitely pick sides on things. If I feel strongly, I have strong opinions, and I will definitely pick sides. But there is a certain sense of caution around that kind of stuff, and sometimes that can be a challenge to be as firm in my decisions as I feel that I am. So yeah. Anyway, where you have Libra, you may have trouble making decisions or sending clear signals. Here you could perform mental gymnastics to avoid conflict and mistake repression for peace. Here you can get hooked on superficial beauty and forget to look below the surface, or feel lonely, crave romance, and bend yourself out of shape to be what you think others want. Oh, that's hitting me in personal space there. If you find yourself addicted to romance and relationship drama, rebalance your life. Be fair to all parties, including you. So there we go. And there's, of course, more to that there. What was it? What body part was Libra associated with? Because often the kidneys. So it is connected to the kidneys, the endocrine system, and the ways a body comes into balance. So there we go. All right. So now let's talk about tarot. So I have chosen the Crystal Visions Tarot as my association with Libra. I think this is the right decision. I considered a few other decks. I considered my oh gosh. The Moon Crystal Tarot, the Sailor Moon themed tarot deck. I considered that one. That one's fairly Libra-y. However, I don't know. I kind of associate that one a little bit more with maybe Cancer, and probably because Sailor Moon herself is a Cancer sign. But so probably maybe that's why I associate it with that. But pretty much any of my romantic decks would go well with Libra, or decks that are black and white could be good. Anything that has to do with a certain sense of balance of color or balance of energies. A deck that maybe is night and dark, or night and day, or dark and light. Yeah. Something like that could have worked as well for Libra. But I went with the Crystal Visions Tarot, and this is a very romantic deck. So that it does tap into that romantic energy energy of Libra. And also it's very fantasy-ish, which feels very October to me too. And I am an October Libra. So there's something about that with this deck as well that draws me to pick this for Libra. Yeah, and yeah, in general, it's got a strong Libra energy to me. It is very straightforward, and Libra does tend to be very straightforward. It's got that romantic energy, a romanticization of things, but it still has, I don't know, there's something to it that grounds it a little bit. But it does feel very airy to me too. It doesn't feel, it also does have a little bit of a wateriness to it, like air and water. I think I would associate with this deck, because there is water in this deck, but it does feel it feels very airy, very ethereal. Maybe that's the term I'm looking for. It does feel very ethereal. Anyway, so let's pick out the cards that are associated with Libra. All right, so I have them to the side here. So, of course, the Justice card. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so of course we have the Justice card that's associated with Libra. Then for the decans, we have the 2, the 3, and the 4 of Swords. And move these over a little bit here. And for the court card is the Queen of Swords. Now, my court card significator card is not the Queen of Swords. I don't actually use the Queen of Swords to signify me in a spread. I actually feel more connected with the Queen of Wands, believe it or not, which is funny because none of my top 3 signs are a fire sign. Libra is an air sign, Capricorn is a earth sign, and Cancer is a water sign. So the only one missing there, because they're all cardinals, is the Aries, which I did marry an Aries. So maybe that was me finding balance there. But but yeah, and maybe that's part of why I choose the Queen of Wands to represent me in the tarot, because I have the 3 other signs there. So, there we go. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But in general, I actually feel like the Queen of Wands fits me more, or has an energy to it that I feel. But then again, I also have 3 of my signs are in Sagittarius in my chart. So maybe that's why. But anyway, the Queen of Wands, it signifies me. But I think the Queen of Swords works very well with Libra. The Queen of Swords is someone who is very, how should I describe this? She's very sharp and actually kind of decisive, so, which is kind of funny, because Libra in general is indecisive. And here we have a card of someone that is decisive. But I think it's more that there's a coldness to her, and she's very I would say she's very stern, but there's a femininity to her as well. And to me, I really see the justice aspects of the Queen of Swords. Again, here with justice, the justice aspects I see with the Queen of Swords. And that's the area where I really feel the Queen of Swords connects with Libra in general. And she is very feminine too. She's cold, but there is that feminine energy that she has. She rules with her head, not her heart. And in that aspect, I do feel connected to this card in pertaining to me, because I feel like my Capricorn moon kind of adds to my bluntness, I guess, or that sort of energy, where we're not reaching too far into compassion and emotion and empathy, but I don't think that the Queen of Swords lacks empathy. I think she very much has compassion. She very much has a heart, but she's wise and fair. and honest and forthright. So she's, you know, and I'm grabbing the little booklet here for the Crystal Visions Tarot, just to kind of to see what it says about the Queen of Swords, at least in this deck. And it says all those things, and it says she's ready for battle when necessary, though she prefers to keep matters civilized. And, you know, again, that's very Libra here. The clouds of conflict part, illuminating the Queen of Swords with a light of hope. So yeah, I think both the Queen and the Justice card really tap into those justice aspects of Libra. And, you know, there's not much I could really say about the Justice card that I haven't already said about Libra. So to me, it's a no-brainer card that makes sense for Libra, and it really, both of these tap more into the diplomacy side of things for Libra. All right, so the Decan cards, the 2, 3, and 4 of Swords. All right, we feel that here. All right, so you know, we have the 2, of course, the 2 of Swords, that, you know, and 2s in general have to do with that balance of energy. And this is a decision-making card. And like, I feel like decision-making is something that's very prevalent with Libra, because I feel like it's not just a difficulty in making decisions, it's that we think about those decisions a lot. We make very calculated decisions, and the problem is they're not quick, you know, they're not quick decisions. We make very calculated decisions, and the calculated part we see a lot in these cards represented here. So the 2 of Swords is a sort of, you know, it's a blind justice. It's also a the blindfold to me signifies going deeper within, and instead of making decisions based on external forces, external information, we have to make more of a gut decision and more of an internal decision. That's one of the ways that I associate or read the 2 of Swords, is a bit more of a gut decision, and that you know the right way to go. You know the right way to go, and the right course of action. It's more of a trusting the instincts. That's kind of how, you know, one of the ways that I read the 2 of Swords. The 3 of Swords, you know, we often see this as the heartbreak card, and that is sort of depicted here. We have 3 hearts stabbing her, or 3 swords stabbing her heart, you know, and yeah, and it does have that aspect to it, the 3 of Swords. But, you know, the swords is a suit of the mind, and you know, the 3 of Swords being represented in such an emotional way is pretty antithetical to this suit. And the way I read the 3 of Swords is experiencing an imbalance of heart and mind. The heart and the mind are not in alignment. And that's kind of how I read this. Now, it could be something that, you know, it could be an emotional thing that caused this, like a heartbreak. And maybe that's where we see that, why we see that heart associated with the 3 of Swords and the swords going through it. That sense of betrayal, I guess. Though I think betrayal is a bit more of a 7 of Swords. But yeah, we see that, you know, like heartbreak, like, you know, I've just been stabbed in the heart sort of feeling with the 3 of Swords. But to me, it has more to do with an imbalance of the mind, imbalance of the mind with the heart, and you know, bridging that gap from the sword suit to the water suit, you know, or cups, the sword suit to the cup suit, something like that. And I don't necessarily see it as a full-on negative thing. I see it as, you know, as a mental struggle, and 3s also are associated with growth. So we have a growth of the mind, and when you do that, there are imbalances that happened. that happen as you grow and change and expand your mind. There are things that come in and stab your heart and stab the situation, and a wrench being thrown into things. So that's kind of how I read the Three of Swords. And then the Four of Swords, we often see this as representing rest. But in relation to Libra, I think the Four of Swords has to do more with being like paralyzed in a decision. Like this is where we get stuck on that decision. Because we often see the Four of Swords as being, oh, it's time to go take a rest. It's time to rejuvenate. And all of those things are associated with the Four of Swords. But when I'm thinking about it in the sense of Libra as a decan of Libra, I'm thinking about that as inaction, as being stuck on that decision making, and not getting out of this stone, but kind of being frozen in where we're at. So that's kind of how I see this in relation to Libra, is that paralyzation that happens in decision making with Libra. So yeah, so that is all the tarot cards associated with Libra. All right, so I think that is everything. I've gone through the books a little bit. Yeah, so we'll leave it on here. All right, so I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.